Hello and welcome to week 2 of the e-course, Whole Brain Functioning to Superior Mental Power. Last week, you were introduced to this new world of brain training with some simple exercises for synchronizing your hemispheres and general brain development. This week, we'll continue your training with more tips for the training of your brain in a general term, and for good brain function and more exercise to develop your synchronicity and to awaken areas of your brain that are usually asleep. Hobbies that require you to use several different senses in non-routine ways and to make fine distinction within one sensory system can stimulate your brain effectively. Here are just a few activities that can be good for the brain to keep it activated and stimulated. They are like workout for the brain. I don't really like the brain training software. If I want to stimulate my mind, I would prefer to find activities that I have fun and can do this for me automatically, like the ones on this list. And this brief list certainly doesn't exhaust the brain-challenging activities out there, and it's not intended to do so. The idea here is to learn to look at potential activities from a brain fitness point of view, and to be sure that we're getting the biggest brain benefit from our interests as we can. So, with that in mind, on with the list. They are in order of importance for the kind of training you receive. The first ones are the ones that give you the weakest training, and the last ones are the ones which train your brain the best. Things like crosswords, Sudoku, this I only recommend as a last resort. If you really don't have any more activities to do for brain training, do these ones. But quite honestly, they are the lazy way to brain development, considering there are much more fascinating and stimulating brain training out there. Solving riddles, why not buying one of these books of riddles and do 2 or 3 of them every day in the morning. Keep thinking in them during the day if you cannot find the answer, and if you really cannot find the solution till the end of the day, you read the solution when you go to sleep. It's a better way to exercise your brain, and especially it doesn't take much time out of your schedule to do so. Memorizing poems and songs are also a good way to train your memory, but that's pretty much the only thing it will do. It stimulates your brain to increase your capacity of memorizing things. And playing chess. Chess is simply the best strategy game out there and increases your logic and reasoning skills. Chess can help you gain the ability of good thinking and making creative strategies. Learning a foreign language. Brain fitness through learning language makes all those brain games and crossword puzzles look like a child's play. Being bilingual is a far more challenging and rewarding brain fitness activity than any type of game or program could be. In fact, research shows that people who are bilingual and use both languages every day have a 4-year delay in the onset of dementia. This means 4 extra years of good brain functioning. If you don't know 2 languages, no reason not to start learning. Language learning is fun and engaging process that could keep you busy for years. Musical instruments, especially if you don't have any background in music. This will really stimulate many different areas of your brain. In fact, if you don't have any background in arts, why not learn a musical instrument or learn how to paint? It's a wonderful way to awaken your right side hemisphere. And traveling. Traveling is probably the best way to stimulate your brain. It will take you to a completely new environment where you have to adapt to new life situations, new language, new foods, new smells, new ways of communicating. Combine learning a language with learning about culture while throwing in some travel, and you have a comprehensive brain fitness program right there that knocks the sock off any brain games or video trainers. Exercise is probably the most important thing you can do for brain development. It's so important that I've actually have a category here just for this. The growing evidence that moderate exercise is a great way to develop your brain is undeniable. Just do a search on Google if you have any doubts about this. Physical exercise may also protect against mild cognitive impairment by promoting production of nerve-protecting compounds, increasing blood flow to your brain, improving development and survival of neurons, decreasing your risk of heart and blood vessel diseases that can impact brain functioning, and in essence, exercise encourages your brain to work at optimum capacity by causing your nerve cells to multiply, strengthen their interconnection, and protecting them from damage. The key to obtaining the benefits of the exercise is to commit to a program. If you don't have a regular exercise program, then it's time you get one. It's imperative that you get one that combines weight training with some kind of endurance or aerobic exercise. You may also want to check out into interval training. I'm not going into many details about this here, since this course is about the brain, but I'll leave you here with just these ideas. The thing to retain is to really commit to a program of exercising at least 3 to 4 times a week. One interesting piece of information is that research has shown that listening to music while exercising not only improves mood, but may also boost cognitive levels. An example of this was seen in higher scores among cardiac rehabilitation patients on verbal fluency tests. The study looked at the effects of music combined with short-term exercise and found that people diagnosed with coronary artery disease had enhanced brain power after listening to music while exercising. Clear thinking, concentration, and focus require a great deal of oxygen to the brain. In fact, the brain is known to consume 20% of the oxygen available in the body. If you are one of the 80% who are functioning at 30% of breathing capacity, your brain is not functioning fully either. In addition, when you begin to get anxious about performing on tests and other mentally demanding activities, it can trigger the sympathetic system in a fight or flight response, and all resources are conserved for survival. The brain is further robbed of oxygen, and this begins a downward spiral, which further impedes performance and confidence. So, in just 5 minutes of deep breathing when you wake up and when you go to sleep in a window of your house, and several random periods during the day is enough to fuel your brain with precious oxygen. You only need a deepening of the breath. Take a slow, deep, rhythmic breath through the nose. Expand your diaphragm when inhaling, and this way it will allow the air to rush into the vacuum created in the lungs. Then, the chest cavity is expanded, allowing the lungs to fill completely. This is followed by a slow and even exhalation which empties the lungs completely. One important tip is to always use fresh air. Don't use the tired air of a room. Always open your window or do it outside, in a place that's not oversaturated with cars or pollution. If it's possible, do it among trees. Try it just 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, and any periods of your day that you want to just take a deep breath. It will be enough to fuel your brain with oxygen. Okay, so on with the exercises. Exercise 5 is SuperBrain Yoga. SuperBrain Yoga is a simple and effective technique to energize and recharge the brain. This ancient technique is a great way to balance hemispheres of the brain. And as you know from previous lesson, when brain is balanced, we are more intelligent, our creativity is stimulated, and even memory improves. In India, this exercise is called Topu Karanam, and it's a form of sit-up exercises practiced by Hindus. They do it while worshipping the Lord Ganesha, the elephant-headed god. And here are the instructions. I'll post a link to a video on the website so that you can watch it in action. First, take your left hand and hold it your right earlobe with your pointer finger and thumb. Make sure that the thumb is facing away from you and remove any jewelry before proceeding. Do the opposite with your right hand and left earlobe. Continue to hold your lobes as you press your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Inhale air through your nose and slowly squat down to the ground. Hold your breath and do not exhale until you start making your way back up to a standing position. Continue holding your lobes and sticking your tongue to the roof of your mouth as you perform this. Repeat for at least 1 minute. Slowly expand until you can reach 5 minutes daily. Do it morning and night. As an alternative, you can also cross your legs while you are doing this. Try it and see for yourself how it is better for you. Exercise 6 is the second exercise of cross-crawling. And this is an expansion to last week's exercise. The benefits are the same, but it's just another way to do pretty much the same thing that you can choose to do it instead of the other, or you can do both. That's your choice. Get on hands and knees. Slowly lift your right hand and straighten it out in front of you while lifting your left leg to straighten it out behind you. Look forward and tuck your belly button in towards your spine. Hold this position for a few seconds before switching sides. Then repeat. See the picture to get a more accurate description of this exercise. Do 3 series of 24 movements, 12 right and 12 on the left. Exercise 7 is a sequel to last week's exercise. And this time you use your non-dominant hand for a little bit harder and more complex activities. Like for example, using your mouse or your computer mouse on your non-dominant hand. And I'm pretty sure this will be a little bit harder than you think, but with practice it becomes easier and easier. You can also try to switch your hands, your fork and knife in meals, which will introduce you to a whole new way of eating. And if you want to avoid social embarrassment, start by doing this at home when you are home alone, and whenever you are comfortable, you change it to the social settings as well. Shaving, for men, can also be a little bit more complex to do with your non-dominant hand, but it's a great activity to practice. By the way, I can't be responsible for any harm that you do to yourself with this exercise. Small cuts are really a possibility, so use it at your own risk. You can also try to style your hair with your non-dominant hand, or do any kind of other activities. Just up it up a notch this week and do a little bit more complex activities than last week. Exercise 8 is another exercise for hemispheric synchronization along the lines of last week's exercise. So, with your left hand outstretched in front of you, draw an imaginary circle. At the same time, with your right hand, the same way outstretched, draw an imaginary straight line, right in front of you. And you do this for 1 minute. Remember, it must do at the same time. Then you change the direction of the circle. Instead of clockwise, you do it for counterclockwise, and you do it for 1 minute more. Then you do the whole process, but you switch hands. With your right hand, you draw the circle, and with your left hand, you draw the straight line. Exercise 9 is called breaking routines. As adults, we miss out a lot of new experiences, new associations, and sensory involvement because we tend to rely heavily on only one or two senses. As we grow older, we find that life is easier and less stressful when it's predictable. So we tend to avoid new experiences and to develop routines around what we already know and feel comfortable with. By doing this, we reduce opportunities for making new associations to a level that are not that good for brain fitness. The truth, however, is that most of us go through our adult lives engaged in a series of remarkably fixed routines. Think about your average day-to-day life. Really, how different are your days, your breakfast, lunches, dinners, week in and week out? And what about things like shopping and laundry? It's startling to realize just how predictable and free from surprises our everyday lives really are, and as a consequence, how little we tap into our brain's ability to make new associations. The human brain is evolutionarily primed to seek out and respond to what is the unexpected or novel. New information coming in from the outside world that is different from what it expects. It's what turns the brain on. So one exercise to do is to break routines and do the things that you normally do on a different way. Like, for example, get dressed after breakfast, put on your shoes on a different order, first the right and the left, or first the left and the right, depending on how you put them. Eat a different breakfast each day for a week. Take a new route to work. Go to a different supermarket. So just do the things that you normally do, but do it on a slightly different way. Okay, so here's a summary for this week's lesson. Exercise 1 and 7, with your non-dominant hand activities, you do it whenever you have the chance. You do it all the time. Whenever you have the chance to use your non-dominant hand to do an activity, simple or complex, you do it. The same thing with exercise 9, breaking routines. You do it all the time. This is not something that takes longer for you. No, you just do the routine that you normally do, but you do it on a slightly different way. Exercise 2 and 6, 3 and 8, and exercise 6, meaning cross-scrolling, Hemispheric Sync, and SuperBrain Yoga. You try to do it on twice a day on the periods chosen by you, but I recommend morning and night. And the cross-scrolling is 3 series of 24 movements. Hemispheric Sync, it's 4 minutes a day with that sequence that I told you about, and SuperBrain Yoga with 1 minute, but you try to expand it to 5 minutes whenever you can, as your physical stamina will allow you. So do this exercise this week, and I'll give you more exercise for all brain training in a week from now. See you in a week, and have fun!